Hi, I'm Patty Simpson, and I am the founder and CEO of DW Simpson Global Actuarial and Analytics Recruitment. Thank you again for joining me today. Today is about how to keep your career advanced. And again, it's specifically to the actuarial market, but of course, things apply to other markets as well. But I'm going to speak more specifically to the specialized field of being an actuary. So, first and foremost, of course, you have to keep your professional credits up, which allows you to keep up to date with all the things that are happening in the insurance industry and technological advances, which then also means that as new programming languages are coming about, new predictive analytic tools are coming about, that you stay up to date with all of those types of technical skills as well. We all know, we hear it all the time, that this world is constant innovation and companies have to constantly innovate to stay competitive. So it's really important that you keep all your technical skills up to date. The next thing that is really important is developing business acumen. You need to understand the business side of insurance. It's very important. Actuaries love to learn and they love to grow intellectually. And it's just very important that it's not only the technical side of it, but it's also the business side of everything, because it takes both to really be a part of tremendous growth within a company or mitigating mistakes. Mistakes always happen. We learn from them, and that's okay. We just don't want to completely fall on our face. It's also very important to keep up with sociological trends. Experienced actuaries will tell you that the way people are feeling sociologically and psychologically affects the impacts of claims. And so understanding what's happening in the world culturally and otherwise is very important, to be mentally curious about that as well. Also, traditionally, actuaries have been on the liability side of the balance sheet. And the more that you can learn about the asset side of the balance sheet, the more that you'll understand how it all impacts one another, which creates the company's bottom line. So it's very important in your own education, your own self-study, or the numerous tools and books that are out there to learn about all of that, that you continue to learn that side of things too. And actually, many actuaries have loved the asset side so much that they've moved into those types of roles in their career, which had historically been really held for the investment type of people. So this just makes you much more well-rounded overall. Then, of course, communication. This is always a topic, in every single company. First of all, your written communication. It's really important that when you're sending an email, that you're thinking about it from the viewpoint of the other person receiving it. And does it make sense? And is it concise? And I think what's also important within that, and I hear this all the time, that if you're going to send an email that might be a little ambiguous or is very difficult technically, that you preempt it with a phone call and you go through it together. I think that clears up a lot of misunderstandings, and it also helps with your own personal branding internally, so that other departments and your own department want to come to you as a resource. Then the verbal. So know your audience. Of course, actuaries are mathematical wizards and are very strong technically. As actuaries advance, it's very important that they know how to communicate their work to senior level people. And by and large, senior level people, especially your C-suites, they want to have concise, quick answers. They don't want to know how you got there. They don't want to know every detail. They want to know what the answer is. And then they will ask you the questions, which might allow you to talk about your love of math and everything else that got you to get to your answer. But start with a solution. And just in general, when you're dealing with anyone who is senior, have a solution and why you have that solution. And then if you need to back into it, they'll ask you and they'll love it, because actuaries have so much to bring to the overall success of a company. The next thing that's very important is management training. Not everyone wants to manage, and that's fine, because there's plenty of people and there's plenty of places for people who want to be individual contributors. Managing people is really, really difficult. Everybody has their own ways in which they like to be communicated to. They have their own ways of experiencing what it is that they're hearing, meaning their perceptions. So management training is really important. Understanding all the different ways of what you want your management style to be. And if you were being managed, how you would want to be managed, but then being able to take it further and knowing the people that you've hired who work for you, that you might have inherited, and how they can be the best performers that they can be in terms of how you're managing them. Then executive training, executive presence, which is all about delivering results, the way that you present yourself, your internal branding, your external branding, and what you want that to look like. Not being a completely different person, but polishing the person that you are to be the best executive that you could be. And again, you might not want to go to that level, but if you do, it's very important that you take the steps to get there, because then chances are you're going to get there much faster. So I touched on this a little bit earlier on how to give a presentation. If you're talking to an actuarial body, graphs, details, data points, formulas, all that's outstanding. They're going to eat it up. They're going to understand it. They're going to love it. They're going to want to challenge it, all of that. And that's awesome, because that's something that you all can relate to. However, and again, if you're making a presentation to the C-suite, that's not what they want to see. And even if your CEO was an actuary, their bottom line responsibilities have grown beyond that. And so, and time is very critical. So knowing what your CEO or your CFO wants to know and getting there quickly is of the utmost importance. And again, they're going to ask you the questions if they're not understanding why you pick certain assumptions and why you're recommending the solutions that you are, or why you picked a certain reserve level. And the other thing in terms of communication and presentation, if you're an actuary that's going to become a consulting actuary, what I've really learned over the years, and I know for myself, is rip the Band-Aid off quickly, get to what the problem is quickly, and get it addressed. It takes fortitude, it takes courage, but it can be really scary. So that leads me into a big, big topic these days in every profession, but in particular, I have found on the various advisory councils and boards that I serve on within the actuarial industry is a huge topic, and that is someone's EQ. So being self-aware really speaks to the former. Who is your audience? Who you're speaking to? How are they going to perceive what I am saying to them? What effect and what affect might that have on them? So it's just very important that you develop your EQ, which is your emotional quotient. We all know IQ, but this is something that's really been being talked about. And again, more specifically, I think in the actuarial industry, because everything technical and mathematical is what's being tested. Everything else isn't anything that is, given on the exams. There has been some talk of that, by the way. But developing your own interest in how people are psychologically made up, watching and learning people's nonverbals. If I'm saying something to you verbally, but nonverbally, I'm doing something different and you're aware of it, well, the number is somewhere in the 80th percentile of people will believe you're nonverbal and not your verbal. So learning to pick up on all of those things, learning to understand how you're being perceived. And it's difficult to look yourself in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, I really could have done that better. Or maybe you're too hard on yourself. Obviously, just like anything, there's the balance of all of that. So I would also very much encourage, in terms of your own personal development, which will help your professional development, to get more psychologically astute, to spend some time on all of that as well. Thank you for your time today. I really hope that this was helpful. And again, you can find any of us at www.ddwsimpson.com.